Lori here. I'm here today to do my January TBR. Oh my god, I can't believe it's 2022. It's crazy. But I'm really excited to share my TBR with you guys this month, and this will be kind of going to be how I'm going to do it for the rest of the year. So these videos are probably going to be pretty long, just as a note, because it's like a 3-part TBR. The first part of the TBR is my reading resolution goals. The second part of the TBR is my TBR game that is also connected to all the reading challenges I'm a part of. And then my physical TBR game, which is connected to Margaret and the Word Nerd and her challenges. And I'm going to talk about that at the very, very end because I just watched a live show and think I did it correctly. But again, I really like reading challenges. They definitely motivate me and inspire me to just read more and really make reading a priority. This year I'm participating in the Avengers Reading Challenge, the Disney Reading Challenge, and also the Margaret's Word Nerd Challenge. I think it's called Fabelin. So if you're coming over from her videos, those books will be at the very, very end. But I'm really excited to share this video with you guys and start reading in 2022. My reading resolutions video, I had a couple of prompts that I always am going to focus on every single month. And in addition to reading audiobooks, I'm going to try to listen to 2 audiobooks a month. These are books that are a little bit more challenging for me. These are prompts that are just harder. They're books that I don't often read a lot of and I want to. So I'm going to try to make a goal that I read one every single month. So let's get into that. First type of book we're going to talk about is adult fantasy. It's my goal to read a lot more adult fantasy this year. So I'm going to actually pick up a book that I'm in the middle of reading. I just did not wind up finishing it, mostly due to the Avengers Reading Challenge, but I am in the middle of reading The Bone Season. I've read about 128 pages. So my goal is to finish this book today. Well, not today, but like in this month, so I can move on and maybe read the second book. But this is like a science fiction adult book. It's really readable. It's very, very romance heavy from what I read, but I'm really liking it. I read about 129 pages in it and I'm really enjoying it. So this will be a book that I'm going to add to my January TBR and hopefully I tackle it soon. But again, this is that I really have been struggling with adult fantasy. So hopefully if I add this, it will get read and I won't feel as like behind in that genre. But this is a book that's been very, very beloved and so far I'm really liking it. So that is why it is on this TBR. It is going to be 2 e-arcs that is from my NetGalley shelf. They could either be 2022 books or 2021 books, but the next 2 books are going to be 2022 releases because I do have quite a few that were on a lot of my list. So let's get into it. The first one I'm actually in the middle of. I'm about 50% done, and that is League of Liars by Astrid Charlette. Here is a photo. Randomly when I was waiting in line for one of the rides at Universal, and I just really fell in love with it. I really like both of Astrid Charlette's books. Four Dark Queens I didn't love as much, but I did really like The Vanishing Deep. And I'm just going to read you guys the summary because I think it says it perfectly fine, like awesome. In this fantasy thriller, 4 teens charged with murder and the illegal use of magic band together to devise the ultimate jailbreak, perfect for the fans of Six of Crows and How to Get Away with Murder. And you basically follow 4 characters as they're sort of in this world. It sounds very much like Six of Crows. Like it has like a very similar magic system to that. I also just like the world and the characters as well, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm about 50% into it, so this is the book that I'm going to add for this category, but it also might work for like other categories in my other games later on in the year or later on in the month, but really excited for this one. This book does come out in February, so I'm reading it a little bit early. And then the next ebook I'm going to focus on is Forgery of Roses by Jessica Olsen. Here is a photo of that. Like doing my video for like books I really want to read, and the summary just stuck out to me. Reminded me a little bit of like Enchantment of Ravens, which I haven't read, but it's about this girl who when she paints you, she could change your physical appearance, or she could change you, and that is something that people want, and she kind of gets sucked into this political intrigue. Sounds awesome though. This is my fantasy book, so I'm probably going to wind up using this for Margaret's reading challenge. I'll talk about that later. But I'm really excited and hope I get around to reading it soon. It does come out in March, but it does fit quite a few challenges. So I'm really excited for this one, and that is why it's on this TV. I'm going to chat about is my nonfiction read. I will probably read another one, but this is one that I've wanted to read for a while. It's called The Library Book, and it basically, here's a photo first. About the fire that happened in 1986 at the Los Angeles Public Library, where the fire reached 20,000 degrees, burned for more than 7 hours, and it had consumed 400,000 books and damaged 700,000 more. And this is a book sort of investigating that situation, which I think is very, very interesting. So I hope I wind up, actually, my goal is to try to listen to this today. We'll start listening to it, not finish it, but start it. It sounds really, really interesting. And I have wanted to read a little bit more true crime books. This is not really true crime, but I really do like to read. So when books burn, it makes my heart hurt. But I'm sure this book will be very interesting. And then the last monthly goal for myself is to read a sequel or, keep on reading in a series. So the book that I've chosen for this is Aurora's End by Amy Kaufman and Jake Kristoff. That I am about 228 pages into, so I'll probably just keep reading it. But again, the boss battle with the Avengers Challenge really threw off my game a bit, so I have a couple of books that I just would like to finish, but this is the end of that series, and I'm really happy that I'm getting around to reading it. This is also another e-arc that I do have access to, so it will also count as an e-arc that I'm reading, but it is a concluding book in a series, and I'm really excited to getting around to it. I really do like their writing style quite a bit, and it was very interesting. I don't know, I might actually go back and restart it. We'll see how I'm feeling, but definitely enjoying it so far. I did wind up editing my TBR game a bit. I added a bunch of new challenges. Also, these challenges are connected to the Avengers Reading Challenge. They're also connected to the Disney-a-thon. So there is a lot more challenges in this jar, and I also just found some fun ones in people's videos I was watching towards the end of the year. So I'm going to roll my trusty 6-sided dice and see what prompts I have to choose from, and we will get over it. Well, we will go over all the books that I'm also going to add. I normally read about 11 to 15 books a month, so we will see. If any of the books that the first 5 coordinate, I will definitely use them as well, but I will try to come up with some different books for this section. So we are going to choose 6 more books. All right, let's get choosing. Handy dandy Wells College mug, which I've had for about 10 years, and I'm probably my favorite mug of all time. So the first prompt is, read a NetGalley beat the backlist challenge. So this is actually really good. So let me go find one, and I don't actually have any on my current TBR that are came out in 2021. So let me go find one. I'm gonna pick up These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. This came out, I think, over the summer, and it was a fae story, and I was really intrigued by it, and I just didn't get around to reading it. I would love to read it before the sequel comes out, which I think the sequel's coming out soon or just came out, but I'm really excited for it. Here's a photo. I'm trying to pick one. Read a book for my Avengers reading board for Stan Lee. I gotta actually look at what prompts I have left for Stan Lee. I don't think it's a lot. Finishing a lot of this one, but I had one prompt left to read a book about a comic book character, so I'm gonna pick up Dawnbreaker, which is part of the Spider-Man Icon series, and this is all about Superman. It's about Clark Kent. I don't know really what this book is about. I bought it so long ago. But I really did enjoy the TV show when I watched it. And I think he's kind of starting to uncover a dark secret. And it just sounds great. It's not that long, but I really have enjoyed all of the other ones in this series. This is by Matt DiLapina. So I'm really excited for this one and hope that I get around to reading it soon. It also does have a nice poster in the back, which is nice, but I am happy to finally get around to this and have an excuse to read it because it's been on my TBR for quite a long time. So I'm going to add Dawnbreaker to my TBR. Prompt I am going to do is, pick, I think her name is Ling. It's a Ling prompt from the Avengers reading challenge, and I can actually look that up because I haven't actually, we literally just got these boards a little bit early, and because I haven't been reading when I was in Disney, a lot of these boards just did not get used, a lot of them, honestly, because I didn't actually wind up reading a lot from the boards, but character that feels needs to, okay. Ooh. Oh, actually, all right, let me go look at my books, because I might actually have a couple of one that might happen. So let me go see what I have that might work. For my winter TBR, which you haven't seen that video yet, but I'm going to pick up The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. It does fulfill a couple of prompts, like character has something to prove, there's an X on the cover, and maybe a couple of other ones. I don't know if there's any martial arts in this book, but it does sound like it would be good. It's been on my series to start TBR for quite a bit of time, so hopefully this one gets read, and it might also work for a couple of other challenges. I'm not really looking at the Disney one right now because those prompts aren't coming up, but I'm sure it will probably work for that. But this is the start of like a time travel magician series, and I've always wanted to pick it up, so now's the time to pick it up. I'm really excited for this one and hope that I enjoy it. Again, it's definitely a fantasy heavy month, but that's okay because I really haven't been reading a lot of fantasy in the tail end of the year, and I've missed it quite a bit. So that is why this one is on this list. I have to do 3 more. Let's see what the TBR guards do. Top reads of the year list 2022. All right, let me go see if I can find one. To me really, really soon because it's coming out really early in January, and it is When You Get a Chance by Emma Lord. Here's a photo. Sounds delightful. I have loved Emma Lord's previous books. I really loved Tweet Cute. I enjoyed when her matchbook, but this book is set in New York City again. It has a theater background, but she's also trying to uncover who her mother is, so it's sort of like a twist on Mamma Mia. It sounds delightful. I am a theater teacher, and I'm actually supposed to start my drama club on Tuesday. We will see if that still happens, but it's a book about theater and the arts, and since I'm going to be doing a theater club, why not pick this one up? And I'm really excited to read some romance. It's been a bit, and this one is high on my list to read, so hopefully I get around to reading it soon. It will be to me really soon, so I will read it probably pretty quickly. Thanks for this game. So the next prompt is, I have 2. Oh, read a Black Widow prompt, which I only actually have 1 prompt for this. So I have to read a translated book. And I'll be honest, I don't read a lot of translated book, but I did buy one specifically for this prompt. So I'm going to go get it. A Winter Promise by Christine Davos, but it has been translated. And Ophelia possesses 2 gifts. For seeing into an object's past and the ability to travel through mirrors. That's really all that I needed to know. I think that people have really enjoyed the first 2 books in this series, and I know that Reagan really liked it. So it's been on my list. It is a translated work. It's a little bit bigger. It's like almost 500 pages. But again, I really haven't been reading fantasy, and this is one of the books on my winter TBR. So again, sort of like The Last Magician, I would love to knock these out a little bit earlier. And honestly, I don't have grand plans for the next couple of months due with everything else happening other than just reading. So this I'm going to add to my TBR as well. And now let's pick the last book, at least that from my TBR. I'm going to probably pick a couple more, but we will see. First book in a series. I am going to count one of the other books that I have. I do have quite a few. So I'm going to count these Hollow Vows, or, I have a bunch of, for this, so I'm just going to put this book down and just write it, and then I'm going to see anything else that I haven't done, and then we'll do Margaret of the Word Nerds challenge, and then see where my TBR is at. Reading challenges. So Margaret from the Word Nerd, I'll try to link her channel below. She's doing this thing called Fabelin, and it's sort of another reading challenge, which I'm going to try to participate in. Again, I always have these grand plans and then they don't always work, but I've been really good last year doing reading challenges. There's things that motivates me. So the way that this reading challenge works, definitely go watch her video and watch her live show because I found it really helpful to follow along with her challenge stuff. But the way that she made it is that you make a character, and the way your character plays, every single month you have to do a certain number of challenges. So, or like you have to, so I chose that I was going to be an elf. So for that, every month I need to read a fantasy book, which is not hard for me, honestly, at all. So I chose Forgery of Roses, which we did chat about. So I'm going to add that book to her TBR so I can be an elf in this game. Next prompt is going to work for two. So I chose Aurora's End, which would work for a book more than 300 pages, which is definitely easy for me to do, and also a sequel or a continuing book in a series. Talked about that a little bit earlier, but it will count for two of my monthly challenges. And then because I am a mage, I have to read 5 challenges every single month. So I need to choose two other challenges. And this is where I didn't like choose the rest because I wanted to see how my TBR sort of shook out. So I'm going to go find something that will work. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to read a book that takes place in winter, and I am going to do the Winter Promise book, as I just talked about, because it does take place in winter. So that will be the book for that, which I'm excited for. So yeah, that will be the book for that. And then I have to choose one more challenge, so let me go figure that one out. It has food on the cover. So I am going to choose Love from Scratch. It's coming out in April, but it's like a contemporary romance about baking and a baking competition. I'll put the photo here and then we'll chat a little bit about it. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. Again, I really do like books about baking. They tend to make me incredibly hungry, but I do have a bit of a sweet tooth. So I'm really excited to pick this one up, and it should be really, really fun. But yeah, so I think I did that right. So because I'm a mage, I only have to read 5 books for hers, and I was able to pull them from my other challenges, which I really, really like for the most part. But I still have a couple of books, like my TBR cards are not full, and I like to have a pretty full TBR card. So I'm going to go figure out what are some things that I still haven't added to my TBR, and I'm going to probably look at the Disney challenge and just try to like pick some to just add, and then that will sort of wrap up this video. The audiobooks I hope to read this month, I definitely want to increase my audiobook listening time. It's one of my big goals to be less distracted watching older videos and more focused on audiobooks. So I did mention the library book, which by Susan Olsen. That's going to be my nonfiction read. But another book I really am dying to read is Daisy Jones and the Six. So here's a photo. Reads as more of like a podcast, and it's about this band that sort of broke up and you're sort of following them in that experience. That sounds super cool. And I also hope to follow along with the Peace Love Books reading challenge this year. It's called the Historical Hellions. So I'm going to add 2 historicals to this list, and one of them is going to be for that reading challenge. Another is just one that I've been dying to read. The Historical Hellions book club is reading is Splendid by Julia Quinn. I have really loved all of Julia Quinn's Bridgerton books. I know this book is like quite a bit older, but I'm still really excited for it, so that's why I'm going to add it to this TBR. So here's a photo, and I hope to start this, if not today, then definitely tomorrow. Book I'm going to chat about is The Bones of Roon by Raleigh. Here is a photo. Really caught my interest. I think it follows a tightrope walker. It's a historical fiction book that has magic. I'm really excited for this one as well, and hopefully I get around to reading it soon.